Welcome back to Speak Up Queen, the podcast where we empower, uplift, and celebrate women who have reclaimed their voices to inspire others. I'm Marika, and I'm so excited to have you here with me today for this very special episode. Why? Because today I'm joined by the amazing Tina Fletcher. Tina is the founder of Permission Granted, a transformative movement inspiring women to give themselves permission to live boldly without guilt or apology. Her mission is all about empowering women to reclaim their voices, set healthy boundaries, and embrace authenticity in every aspect of life. Tina believes that a simple act of saying yes to yourself can change everything: your energy, your peace, and ultimately your entire life. In today's episode, Tina will share the importance of granting yourself permission to live unapologetically, how setting boundaries can protect your peace and elevate your energy, practical steps for embracing authenticity and self empowerment, inspiring stories from her movement and the impact it has on women worldwide. Tina's work is a powerful reminder that the most important yes is the one you give yourself. I can't wait for you to hear her story and the valuable insights she has to share. So, without further ado, let's welcome Tina Fletcher to Speak Up Queen.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here. I'm really excited. I love everything your channel is about and what it lines for. So being here, I feel that I can talk to as more women about what's so important. And I'm going to start with a quote. You asked me about a quote that I liked, and I don't think I gave it to you. But the quote I like was from somebody called Mary Shelley. She is the author of Frankenstein. I don't know if you heard this quote, but it is, "I do not wish women to have power over men, but over themselves." And I always thought that was a really cool quote. In life, if you don't have power over yourself and you don't look after yourself, really, you can't look after anybody else. And that's sort of been the quote that's inspired me, especially when you listen to the story and that this quote was written back in like 1817. It's pretty cool. Or 1917? Not sure. There. Long time ago anyway. So first thing I wanted to talk about is how when I found my voice, it impacted the way I live my life today. So, there was a time when I thought I did have a voice and that I was doing really, really well. I was running my design business. I was raising my 5 kids. I was keeping everything together. I always kept hearing from people, "Oh, you're amazing. You're so capable. You've got it all worked out." But the truth was I was really running on fumes. My voice wasn't my own. It was what was shaped by what I knew people wanted from me and what was expected. So that shaped me more than what I really wanted to say. And this was my life for a lot of years. It wasn't that I was unhappy. I was quite happy with my life, but I just kind of felt useful. And I'm going to put that in inverted commas, it wasn't in a good way. I wasn't really valued and I definitely wasn't appreciated. But the problem was that starts with me. And I wasn't doing that to myself either. Every time somebody would ask me to do something else, and I did it because I thought I should. Every time I looked in the mirror and didn't like what I saw, every time I devalued myself. And that was the biggest problem. And finding my voice didn't come all at once. Yes, there was a tipping point one day when I was traveling and I was in Chiang Mai in Thailand, but that's another story for another day. But instead, it sort of started small. I gave myself permission to pause before saying yes or no. I gave myself the permission to ask, do I really want this? Do I really want to do this? Do I really want to be in this situation? And it wasn't easy, especially for the people around me who were used to the old me, the one that always goes, yeah, I'll put other people first. But I kept going. And each time I chose myself, my voice got a little stronger and a little clearer. And that was what made the difference. Finding my voice meant shifting from living on autopilot and always saying yes, always being available and meeting everybody else's needs, especially societal needs, to a conscious choice that aligned with my own values and energy. And that's the thing. We're on autopilot all the time. We always say yes. We always just be, and choosing to consciously align with your own values and energy makes a massive difference. But what I'm also going to say is my voice wasn't about shouting or proving anything to anybody. It was a simple, yes, I'm happy to do that. No, I'm too busy and not happy to do that. Let me think about that, something along those lines. But to me, it was knowing deeply that I had the right to choose. And I think that's the thing that's important. I chose to have that right. And I had this voice that said to me when somebody would ask me to do something, or I'd make a conscious choice of looking in the mirror, do I choose to not like myself today, or do I choose to like myself today? Do I want to do this? Hang on a sec, this is my life. And I'm not waiting for anybody else's approval to live it. And this allowed me to do so with my own boundaries, my own beliefs, and my own values. As I said, I wasn't trying to prove anything to anybody, create conflict or arguments. I simply asked myself if this task, this day, or this moment is what I want to do, and to do it consciously. And with my own thoughts now not on autopilot, I suddenly realized there was a difference. And you know what? It had an amazing ripple effect. My daughters see a mother who has her own choices. My sons see a woman who respects herself. The people in my life, well, they learned to respect my boundaries that I'd set. And even though it took them a while to adjust, the ones that stayed become better friends and better people in my life. And for that, I'm so forever grateful.
Wow.
Finding my voice changed everything. It gave me back my life, the one that I didn't even know I was missing. My values, my permission was all mine, and I made that choice. So that's why I think finding my voice was so important. Without, I feel that I would still be living a life that was perfectly happy, but it wasn't really, So there was a couple of tools and a couple of practices that I used to help me build this confidence and self-worth. Because you see, originally I kind of thought that confidence was something you either had or you didn't have, and I didn't have. I'd look at other women who seemed to have it all together and wonder what was wrong with me. What was I doing wrong? I thought I was doing everything right. I was working hard. I was raising my family. I was being reliable. But inside, I felt devalued and invisible. So the first thing I did, the shift started with a small practice. It's really, really simple. It's a permission pause. I gave myself the permission to pause. I remember the first time I tried it. Somebody asked me to take on something at school, and I didn't want to do it. My automatic response was always, of course, yes, no problems. But instead, I paused. I took a breath, and I said, I'll think about it. They were shocked. I'm not going to lie. They were shocked. But they went, oh, okay. You see, I wasn't ready to say no then. I wasn't brave enough to say no then. But because I was so conditioned to be the perfect woman, really, be available, be useful. But that small pause gave me the space to decide what I actually wanted. And as I said from the beginning, I didn't want to do it. So when I eventually said that I could not do it, but I would be happy to support somebody else and be, support to them instead of doing it myself. And you know what? They accepted it. They said, oh, yeah, no worries. And they moved on to the next person. Kind of ironic, isn't it? I would have taken it on normally and then done it all and had taken all my time. But by doing this, you find it becomes quite liberating and you continue doing it and you do it in more things. And yes, I'm using the example of yeses and no and boundaries because it's the one that most people connect with and what most of us struggle with. Do I get it right all the time? Absolutely not. But these tools allow me to move forward every day and do it better and be conscious of doing it, And now my time and my boundaries become valued by me first, and that allows others to value them as well. From there, I started writing permission slips, like the old school permission slips. right? So first of all, they're on a little bit of paper. The ones I have now today are so different. But it started off with things like, and this is where I want to move away from boundaries and all that, but I give myself permission to watch a movie without guilt. I don't know about you, but as a mum and, working and doing everything else, I would feel guilty that I'm sitting down watching a movie and having a break when there was washing to do. I mean, there was always washing to do with 5 kids, but I would always feel guilty. But I gave myself that permission to watch the movie without guilt. So I wasn't allowed to have any guilt. And first time didn't work quite so well. This made me laugh, and I still watched the movie. But over time, I allowed myself to accept these permission slips, and it become better and better. I do things like I give myself permission to take up space and have an opinion, instead of always being agreeable. And I know these tools sound simple, but especially writing the words down in my own writing, it made it real. It wasn't just an idea floating around in my head. It was a commitment. It was a tangible thing that I could hold in my pocket as I was thinking about it, or I could stick it on my fridge just to remind myself that I could do it. I also had to redefine what success looked like for me. For years, I was ticking off all those boxes, making everybody happy, doing it all perfectly. Well, trying anyway. As you can see, look at the hair. I don't do perfect. But I realized that those weren't my goals. I never wanted those perfect things. It's not who I am. But they were what I was scripted to believe was right. That's how success is supposed to be. You're supposed to be the perfect everything and do it the best you possibly can, But guess what? Just doing it and turning up and having a go at things in life is better than being so stressed and upset about things that you're doing them out of guilt or responsibility. So now my success looks like honoring my boundaries, listening to my needs, and showing up for myself first. By doing that, I now am able to give more to more people in a position of power because I own the power of my own strength because I put myself first. So that's, the biggest difference. And as I said, one of the hardest practices was embracing imperfection. I used to think I'd have to have everything figured out before I could feel confident, which means lots of things didn't get done.
Yeah.
But confidence came when I allowed myself to be seen, messy, tired, and still figure it out. The more I let go of that perfection, the more I found my worth wasn't tied to how polished I appeared, but how honestly I lived. Every time I paused, every time I wrote a permission slip, every time I said yes or no consciously, it was a quiet act of reclaiming my self-worth. That's where it became amazing. So these practices aren't about becoming somebody new. I'm who I am. This is it. Like it or not, this is who you see. But they're about remembering who I've always been. Confidence isn't a destination. It's a daily choice to value myself. And that's what I'm living now. And as I said, I haven't got it right, but I'm enjoying it as I go along. So one of the things that, I needed to do was put those boundaries in place. And why? Because not only do they make me more confident and happy, they helped me protect my energy and my peace, which is vital in this day and age where the world is so busy. As I said, there was a time where the word no felt like a bad word to me. Couldn't say it. No, I've got to help everybody. I was that person everybody could count on, the one that was reliable. I was a fixer, the one who could stretch herself so thin to make sure everybody was comfortable. But over time, I noticed the costs. I was exhausted, resentful, and I was losing touch with what actually brought me peace. I remember a specific moment when I had to make a choice. And this one sounds really silly and so little, but a friend asked me once again to help them with something. And I knew it was going to drain me. I'm an introvert. It was way too out of my comfort zone. And of course, guess what? Instinct, say yes. Of course, I'm your friend. Of course, I'm going to help you. It's what I've always done. But I paused. I took a breath. And for the first time, I said, I can't help you with that right now. I'm done. I can't do any more people today.
Wow.
And you know what? I'm not going to lie. It felt really uncomfortable straight away. I felt really, really, really guilty. And I was worried she'd think that I was selfish or unreliable. But as the words settled, she just smiled. She was fine. She goes, yeah, no probs. You know, how about we'll do something together next week, you know, in a quieter situation. I can get so-and-so to help me with this. And I went, oh, okay. But in me, I felt a shift. Because, you know, that no wasn't about rejecting her. It was about choosing me. And it was that small act of setting boundaries that showed me how powerful it could be. So now I try, I can't say I get it right all the time, practicing boundaries every day. I protect my mornings like they're sacred. I am not a morning person, you know. And when my kids were little, they're all grown up now, we had rules in our house that I did protect for my own boundaries so that I could actually function. But as they got older and didn't sort of need me in the mornings, I forgot to remember that mornings are not my favorite time of the day. And I would fill them up with commitments thinking, well, then I can keep my favorite parts of the day to do other things. But it was draining. So now I say no to events or commitments that don't fit how I feel in the morning. You know, events that are too loud, too bright, too much. You know, the ones that the shoulds, not the I really want to do that. Of course, I've gone to and I'm going to an event tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. in the morning because it's in the States and I'm really excited about it. Totally different. I want to go to that one. But if I didn't, I could have said, no, thank you. I'll come to another one of your events later or I'll miss out. And when people push back, and they do, trust me, you hold firm because you're not doing it from a position of trying to upset them. You're not doing it from a position of making them being mean. You sort of realize it's their discomfort isn't your responsibility. You're not responsible for what their actions are. You know, I think there's that saying going around, you know, your mismanagement isn't my problem. That's kind of it, isn't it? Setting boundaries isn't building walls. It's about creating space for what truly matters. It's about saying, this is where I end, then you begin. Each boundary I set reinforces my peace, my energy, and my worth. And that's what I want for you. It's not always easy, but every time I choose my boundary consciously, I'm choosing it for myself. And that makes it a good moment. So what do I hope you can take away from hearing my story? Let me think. What do I think? Well, really, what I want you to take away from the story is it isn't about me, it's about you. My journey may be a mirror, just reflecting back the power that you already have. You might have heard some things here that made you go, aha, yes, I do that all the time. Or maybe you didn't. But if you did, that's what I want you to take away from your story, is that you don't need me to tell you what's possible. You know it there. Deep down, you know you need this. You need to create your own permission, you know? Maybe you felt it in a quiet whisper in those still moments, you know, asking, what should I choose differently? That whisper isn't something to ignore. It's your power waiting for you to notice it, to act on it, to trust it. So I hope when you've heard this story from me, it reminds me that you have the permission you're waiting for, and it doesn't come from somebody else. It's yours. You've already owned it. Nobody can give it to you. Nobody can take it away. They can only disrupt it. But you already own your own power, your own permission to have what you want in life, right? So what happens now if you stop waiting? If you just pause and ask yourself, what do I actually want? One small choice at a time is yours. A no to somebody else, a yes to you. And that's what I think. I don't talk about saying no to other people. I don't, you know, you hear all these things about, you know, you've got to learn how to say no to people. I'm not saying no to people. I'm saying yes to me. and if that creates a no for somebody else, well, that's their problem, because I've said yes to me, and I want that for you. You know, every pause you take, every boundary you set, every yes or no, you own it. It's not stepping out of your power, it's stepping into your power, you know? So that's what I want you to take away from this. It isn't about finding a voice that you don't have. It's using the voice you already have. It's about realizing you don't need my permission because you are your own permission. I hope that helps. So let's get a little bit real here. Why do I want, am I talking about this? Why do I care? And why do I want to inspire other people? Because I lived too many years not in my own permission. I lived too many years playing the game, doing the right thing. And did it help me? Sure, it made it all smoother and easier, but it didn't help me. You know, when I think about someone who I was, I still remember and imagine that lady that was running on empty. I was saying yes to everything, holding everything together, and feeling like my life didn't belong to anybody, especially not me. And if you're there, I want you to hear this. It doesn't have to stay this way. You see, sometimes I slip back into her. Not very often these days. These days I'm probably better at it than I have been for a long time. I've kind of hit my groove at the moment with it. And, you know, but it's easy to slip back into that one who thinks, maybe if I just work a little bit harder, gave more, held out more, you know, things will get better. And the truth, nothing's going to change until you decide to change it. So my story isn't about waking up one day and magically having it all figured out. It's about taking one small step, then another, and then another. One pause, one slip, you know. As I said, I remember a time in Chiang Mai when I was sitting on this balcony. I was supposed to feel free. I was living the dream. I was being a digital nomad. Kids had grown up. Life was supposed to be exactly what it was. And I felt trapped. I felt really, really sad. And do you know why? Because I was still living the dream for somebody else. I hadn't asked myself, what do I want? And will I give myself permission to have it? And when I did that, it all changed. And will I go back and sit on that balcony in Chiang Mai again? You betcha, probably early next year. But this time I'll be doing it with joy, not with trepidation, you know?
Mm.
So once again, as I said, the first step for me was the pause. If you could do nothing else today, could you please do that? Just one breath before you make a decision based on somebody else wanting something. Ask yourself, do I really want to do this? You know, you can even pause for yourself. You know, if you're about to go and you've been working all day and you've done all these things and you're absolutely on, you know, empty, and you go, oh, the washing's got to be put on. Well, does the washing have to be put on? Yes, it does. So you do the washing, but maybe you don't have to fold it all up tonight. Maybe you could just put it on. Maybe that's all you can do tonight. Give yourself permission to acknowledge that you need to take a break if you need to. That's what it's about. And you know what? The first time you say no to somebody or yes to yourself, it might feel like the ground's going to fall in. Guess what? It doesn't. It feels like it, but it doesn't. So if I can say to you now, I hope my story reminds you that you don't have to flip your whole life upside down. You don't have to do complicated things. It starts small, start messy, start scared, but start. Because every pause again, every boundary again, every yes to yourself is a step forward, reclaiming your life. And you know what? You're worth every step. So I'm going to end this with a challenge. Today, I want you to look in the mirror and say, I give myself permission. My life, my rules, permission granted, full stop. Thank you very much.
Tina, oh my word, I was like, whoo. it sounds so simple to set boundaries. Everyone is like, set boundaries. It's easy. But when you start, like you said, pause, I think that is the hardest part of setting a boundary is to say, for who is this? That I mean, I was like, phew, it sounds so yeah, it's just amazing. I hope these queens know the value that you just shared because it's simple, yet it is going to be difficult. It's not going to happen overnight. It's just like healing. It's not quick fix and then we are healed. It's a journey. We are going to be messy. And I love it when you said that you show up authentic. You just show up as you. And that is what Speak Up Queen is all about, is sharing our own voice that we already have, showing up as ourselves. No worries or opinions of other people. And something I really just wanted to ask you was, did you really lose people when you set some healthy boundaries? Because I know some of these women out there are scared to set a boundary because they're so afraid that they're going to lose someone.
Yes, I did lose someone, but when I look back on it, they only ever used me anyway. Most of the times, you don't use the people that are good in your life. I mean, okay, you might occasionally, but very rarely. But you look back at the situation with that person, and all you were to them was convenient. You know, you're always available. Look after my children. I had 5 children, and I had one of my friends, and I always said, I'm not everybody else's babysitter. I got my hands full. But somehow she'd got me to believe that I should just look after her couple of kids too. And I did. And when I told her no, our friendship dissolved. But you know what? I didn't have to look after her kids anymore. Like it was, yes, it is. And did I feel bad? And, somebody goes, oh, now she's got to find somebody else. And I'm going, but that's not my problem. I'm not, there wasn't any give and take in that relationship. It wasn't like other days I dropped my kids off to her or even a couple of my kids. Very rarely ask people to look after 5 of my kids ever. That's, asking too much. But there wasn't any give and take. So yes, sometimes you may lose people and you may upset people, but you can start by, as I said, when I first started and I didn't say no, I said, can I have a moment to think about it? And what you can sometimes say after that is, look, I can't do it, but what about we did this instead? Or, I can't do that project, but what about if so-and-so takes it up on and I support her? Or what if we share it? Like the pause allows you to think of an alternative if you can't say no. And sometimes you can't.
Yes. Oh, wow. Well, Tina,
But I could rant for ages, sorry.
no. I am like, oh, this is such a huge thing in the healing part, is boundaries. It's like you need to feel safe in your body to start your healing. Otherwise, you won't be able to heal because you are just a people's pleaser, trying to be someone that you're not really. But I mean, for me, when I was setting boundaries, I was like, what? The confidence in just saying, I put myself first. And for me, it was when I started to put myself first, I was actually opening up to receive love, to receive loyal friends. And it's
Yes.
just the importance. It's not just a tick it off, you've got boundaries in place, and now we can move on. It is like the ripple effect these boundaries have in your life can have so much positive things.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Oh,
Thank you.
so thank you so much for your time, for giving all of your wonderful knowledge, sharing it with these queens. I really hope that they found some value. Well, I did, of course. And that they learned something from it and that they know that their voice matters. Share it boldly, queens. Share it boldly.
Yes.
So yeah,
Good.
bye.